Welcome to section 8 of the Vintage Florals blanket. We are now at the very end, the last border of granny stripes and the edging done in scallop stitch. When you were last here, I was working on section 7 and doing the squares with the join as you go, so that was all finished. And I've been busy behind the scenes and made up part of this final border. What I've done, and it's just simply granny clusters, so I decided it wasn't so important to be sitting doing them on camera. So I've made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rounds of granny clusters. I will pop back on in a second and give you the numbers, although at this point that's not so important, but I will do that for you. When I finished this cream round of join as you go, I turned the blanket over and did my first round of this section on the wrong side, and then turned it back to do the next one, turned it over, turned it back, turned it over, turned it back, turned it over, turned it back. So the last round is right way up, if you know what I mean. This is the front of the blanket, as we know by looking at the join as you go. And we went wrong side, right side, wrong side, right side, wrong side, right side, wrong side, right side. The only thing you need to remember to do when you're doing the very first round, of course, is this funny little bit here, which you will be experts at by now. And that's where you need to jump over this join by making a treble stitch, treble 2 together from one corner to the other, and a treble stitch. And that sits your granny cluster right over the middle of that join. So remember to do that in each of the points where the 2 squares join from the previous section. After that, it's plain sailing. You just do the clusters as normal. And of course, the corners have 3 trebles, 2 chains, and 3 trebles in each of the corners. So that is the first part of the border. I chose, and maybe a little quick explanation as to why I chose these colours. I decided for this one to make 2 rounds of a pale colour with a middle round in a deeper colour of that same tone, if you know what I mean. So we've got 2 kind of the mushroomy lilac colour and the grape in the middle, and then 2 of duck egg and the storm blue in the middle. Oh, and the other thing that I did, it's not essential, but I just wanted to change the scale very, very slightly, was when I did the 2 rounds in the darker colour, I did them in half trebles. So they look just a little bit smaller than the others. Now, that's not essential. You don't need to do that. I just felt that it tied in a little maybe with these squares where you've got a dark centre and a lighter outside. Like, for example, this one, which is quite similar to the border. And I thought if I just did a small darker bit in the middle of the 2 paler ones, it would kind of tie in. As I say, I'm sure if you did it all with treble stitch, you wouldn't notice any difference. And the other thing I would say is coming to the border. This was my choice of colours. You can really choose whatever you want. If you want to make the border wider, for example, you could add more. If you wanted to do it in the same method, you could have, like I've done, mushroom, grape, mushroom with cream in between, and then duck egg, storm blue, duck egg with cream in between. If you wanted to make your blanket bigger, you could, for example, do powder pink and pale rose and powder pink and cream. You could do silver and graphite, the batik graphite and silver. It all depends on how much of each yarn you've got left, I suppose. And this is interesting. This is where I'm going to just check, because this round here, which is the middle round, I did a weight of the it was this round here. Used 28 grams of duck egg. So let's just round it up and say 30 grams. If you've got 30 grams or more of any of your colours left, you'll know that they'll fit in the border. So you could make your border whatever range of colours you like, really. As I said, I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 rows. No, sorry, I don't count that one. That was the join. 8 rounds of the border. And once I got all that done, I have just an edging to do. So I've explained, without actually showing you, I've explained how to do this bit. And what I've done is I have done a couple of sides with my edging to let you see. I'm going to just move this blanket around to find that, and then I'll show you how to do it. Now, edging, there are loads and loads of choices when it comes to edging a blanket, and I quite like going for the simple. So there are 2 or 3 edges that I particularly like, and this is one of them. It's the very simple scalloped edging. And that's what I'm going to show you today. I'm doing it in cream, and that corresponds with the final round of the granny clusters. Very often when you see this edging done as a tutorial on Google or YouTube, they'll suggest that you do a round of double crochet first. I didn't bother. I just worked straight into the tops of the granny of the treble stitches in the granny clusters, and I think it works absolutely fine. As I say, I'm going to come back with counts for this part, but it doesn't really matter because this is very easy to fit in to really any size of border or edging stitch. You can adapt it to suit, really. So, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my yarn and hook. I have, as I say, I've worked around 2 sides of this so far, and I've cut my yarn so that I can start it again in another side to let you see how it starts. First of all, you want to turn your blanket. That's the front of the blanket, like that. Don't get mixed up when I'm saying this. This is the front of the blanket, but I'm working my scalloped edge on the wrong side. Why, you may ask? Well, that is the front of the scalloped edge, and that's perfectly fine. It's probably the way that you'll see it being made when you look at tutorials on the internet. I, on the other hand, like the wrong side of it. I think you get, like the bobble stitches, you get a little bit more value for money with the wrong side of the scalloped edging. So I make it on the wrong side of the blanket so that when I turn it to the right side of the blanket, the edging is on the wrong side, if you get what I mean. So I have turned my blanket over, and I'm just going to find an empty corner to start in. Here we are. And you can see that the blanket's on the wrong side because the joining stitch is on the wrong side, and I know that my stitch marker way back in the middle of the blanket is underneath. So this is me ready to start. The blanket's getting quite big now, so I'm going to have to try and balance it on my lap to stop it from sliding off the table, but we'll manage, I'm sure. Right. Now you really can't get simpler with this scalloped. It's a stitch that looks really effective but doesn't take a lot of work to do. So we're going to start in a corner and we're going to make one double crochet stitch, which is single crochet in US terms, in that same corner. So there's me, got my slip knot on my hook, and I'm just going into the corner and making a double crochet stitch. And next, what I'm going to do is miss the next stitch. Now we're not working into the spaces between clusters or between the stitches, we're working into the tops of these stitches. So I'm going to miss the next one, and then I'm going to yarn over and make a treble stitch in the second stitch along. And then I'm going to continue in that very same stitch and make another 4 treble stitches. That's 3, 4. So counting the first one and the other 4, we've got 5 altogether in that one stitch. And you can see how that is fanning out like a nice scallop. And to finish it off, we're going to miss the next stitch and then do a double crochet stitch in the next one along. And there's your very first scallop. And that's all you have to do all the way along. Miss the next stitch, 5 trebles in the one after. So that's the second one along. That's 2, 3, 4, 5. Miss the next stitch and a double crochet to anchor that scallop. There you go. Isn't that very pretty? And as I say, I think you get more value for money on the wrong side of the scallop. You can disagree with me and do it this way if you like, but this is underneath is the right side of the blanket. So I'm going to work all the way along on this side, and I'll show you what happens when I come to the corner, and that will take you round, and you can go all the way around the 4 sides, and that will be the blanket finish. So I'll see you in a minute when I've got to the end of this side. So it hasn't taken me too long, and I've worked all the way around this edge of the blanket. I've come up to the end now of this side. I had already started, so I've got my scallop on this other side, but you, having done your first edge, will have come up to the corner. This is the corner, and what you'll do is, well, let me just show you. I put a scallop in there. I missed a stitch and put in my double crochet, and there are enough stitches to do another scallop. So I have put my double crochet in, I'm going to miss a stitch, and I'm going to put my scallop of 5 trebles in the next stitch. 2, 3, catch that, 4, 5. And then there's a little stitch left and the corner. Now if you remember when you first started this first edge, we put in 1 double crochet. So I'm going to put 4 double crochets into this corner and then just slip stitch into the first double crochet. This is my last corner. For your first corner, what you will do is put 5 double crochets. Now that's the small stitch, so it's not the treble, it's the double crochet, which in US terms is single crochet. And put 5 into that corner space, then miss the first stitch and make your next treble, your next cluster of trebles to make the scallop in the second stitch along, which is exactly how we started on the beginning of this one, way back along here. If I can find it, we started with a double crochet. So when you come to the end of your first edge, put 5 double crochets into the corner and continue round. But because I had already done 1 in this corner, all I need to do is 4 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I can slip stitch into the top of that first double crochet and fasten off. And there is the last stitch gone into the Vintage Florals blanket. You can see what happens in that little corner is you get just a little version of the scallop in the corner. And it works out really quite neatly. If you have missed a stitch as you've gone along, and you might find that you have 2 stitches at the end as opposed to 1, that's not a problem. Just work over the 2 stitches. The scallop stitch will amend itself very easily to fit in. And I'll just pop back. I'm just going to do a count of these and count my scallops just to give you an amount. Not that it really means anything, but lots of you I know like to be mathematically accurate. So I'll count these and this, and I'll pop back in 2 seconds with the figures. So I'm back with the actual figures for the count for these rows and the border. And row number 1 of section 8, which is this mushroom colour, is 85 clusters, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, and then the final round of the cream granny clusters is 92. And the number of scallops, not counting this little one in the corner, the number of scallops that I've got for the final edging is 69 along each side. So that is now the Vintage Florals blanket finished. I'm not completely finished with the videos just yet because I'm going to pop back to let you see the complete finished blanket and also the process that I do to make it nice and flat, which involves throwing it in the washing machine and then laying it out flat. But I know that there are some of you, especially since you've taken so long to produce this beautiful work of art, are quite terrified at the idea of putting it into a washing machine. So I'm going to take you through that step by step and then show you the blanket in its final beauty when it's all flat and completely finished. So I'll see you for video number 9 very shortly. Bye for now.